So just a quick question. How did everyone go after last week? Did you reflect on the message? Did it bring some revelation? Did it bring some awareness? Did you see some patterns? Maybe not in yourself, but in other people. All great questions to ask. So this morning, I'm going to talk about what I see spiritually that's happening that could be affecting you right now. And also, I'll go into some things that it might, the season that we're in, what it will start to reveal. And let's take it from there. All right, so interesting couple of weeks. And for myself personally, but also for my family. And there's things that have been raising their head that I was like, why is this showing its face again? You know, like what we've dealt with this long time ago. We've never had any, it's never raised its head before. And all of a sudden we've got this intensity of things stirring, and people are, and this is not just my family. I mean, there's a lot of people going through this where there's, it's like this upheaval and disruption in relationships, and it's like, what the heck is going on? So, and I've had some very interesting nights with very little sleep. Last night was one of them for me, simply because we've got to not always look at it as though it's an attack or something's is wrong. We need to start asking the questions in the spirit of what is actually going on. And part of the questioning is some of the things that have been revealed. And I'm seeing in the spirit that there is a deeper level, that God is moving in dealing with old traumas. And part of dealing with old traumas or old fears, he's moving in, the way that we're thinking, and, old mindsets and, patterns that we've kind of gone, oh yeah, they're there, but we haven't really acknowledged them, or they haven't influenced our life because we've been on a different path and we're sitting in a different realm. And part of this is affecting the timelines that we are in. And with that, it is changing our thought patterns so that we can step into the new timeline that is now coming onto the earth. And it's a lot of people are feeling, like disjointed. They're feeling tired. They're feeling weary. Their bodies are feeling heavy. Some people just want to cry. Others are feeling, like they've risen. In different areas, they're growing in different areas. And it's really important that we see it as growing, as God moving in this season to get us ready for what is coming. And it's not just what's coming, it's what we already have here and what has already been done for us. And so we're living past, present, and future. And there's a quickening in that. And there is a momentum in the spirit. So I'm finding myself reflecting on the past, but I'm in the present, but I'm also looking at the future. And normally it doesn't come in a space of like all at once, but that's what I'm experiencing at the moment. And so it's making for a very busy aspect, you know, in my mind and in my spirit. So, and, you know, we've got the influences of what's happening out in the world. So I don't really look at that too much because I'm keeping my eyes on what God is doing and where he's taking me or taking us and what he's doing, because I'm always looking to partner with what God is doing. And like I've said in the past, it's, you know, not only globally, not only, you know, community, but also inwardly. And we start with the inward so that we can be effective on everything around us. And so I'm seeing that God is almost invading, but rising within us to a greater awareness, a greater discernment, because I see that we need more discernment. We need way more discernment with what's coming, because there has been chaos, but there's a lot of deception. And I'm seeing people that are coming out of, you know, religion or stepping out of New Age and or any other type of, you know, captivity, and they're looking for the new, but deception is raising its head because we are in a spiritual battle. And the last thing that the enemy or negativity wants to give up is its territory. You know, it's a battle in the sense of it's doing whatever it can to try and stay in its position. But as we know, the battle is already won. But we're still in a battle. And how we position ourselves and how we respond to what's happening is determines how quickly and the stance that we take in this battle. Now, you know, days past, it's like we're in a battle and let's call all the intercessors together and we've got to wage war. Well, that's not in the stance of the battle has won. Everything that you face, the battle has already been won. It's how you respond or how you react that determines how quickly you get through it. Now, the longer we engage with it as a battle from a negative perspective, the longer we'll stay in it. If we grab hold of it as, God, what are you wanting to show me here? What is it that I need to learn? And what is it that what's going on in me in it? Is also determines how quickly you get through it. If we stay positive, negativity cannot stay. If we stay in love, anger cannot stay. If we stay in forgiveness, hatred cannot stay. And when we stay in those three aspects of, you know, positivity, love, and forgiveness, in other words, the fruits of the Spirit of God and his character, the things that are thrown at us have no sting and they cannot land. So, you know, we are having, honestly, an emotional and spiritual and physical effects in the shift that is happening right now. And it feels quite intense. And I don't know if some of you have felt it as well, but, you know, or you're experiencing it, or you feel like you're, you know, a bit of pressure around you, or, you know, like it feels like, oh, we've you know, we've got to break through. You know, these are all the things. You know, there could be a physical feeling of being tired or, you know, foggy or unclear. You know, you need more sleep, you need less sleep, you've loss of appetite. more hungry than usual. These are some of the things that we can experience because of the shift that's happening. And for me, it's been a bit of a sense of in between worlds, awareness of spiritual different realms. I feel like I'm in and out of different realms very quickly. Sometimes I'm talking to someone. It happened to me last week, actually, while we're on the Zoom. All of a sudden, I shifted dimensions. I was like, hang on a minute. Whoa, I've got to come back here. and when that happens, I'm always like, God, what do you want? What do you want me to do? Like, what's happening here? Is there something you're wanting to show me in this moment, or am I in this constant shifting? Because we've been called higher. We've been called deeper. We've been called to come closer. We've been called to become more intimate with God, that relationship, and not, again, from the rhetoric of religion or rhetoric of formulas. It is about being, genuine and authentic and, asking God the questions. What's happening right now? Because if you don't have understanding, you will be walking blind. It'll be a hit and miss. God doesn't call us to be hit and miss. He calls us to be able to have an arrow that hits the target. And some answers come quicker and some answers come slower. But I'm seeing a real quickening, an incredible momentum of the Spirit of God moving. Now, I want to clarify, it isn't like God hasn't been moving in the past. Okay, I see a lot of prophetic words that, God's coming in this momentum. God is always moving on your behalf. He is never stagnant and he is never still. So it's not, I feel that the momentum of the Spirit is happening. What appears to be quicker is because more and more of us around the globe are awakening and stepping into the spirit realm. So it's a lot busier, is how I'm perceiving that. There's so much more happening, but because there's more happening, but there's more happening on the negative side as well. Because let's face it, 20 years ago, lots of people wouldn't even have a conversation about the Spirit of God. And now everybody's open to it. It's like their eyes have been opened. It's like the veil has been lifted, so to speak. But it's not like the veil wasn't already lifted. It's just more and more people, as more deception has been revealed and exposed, more and more people are asking the questions and stepping into wanting to know the things of God. And what is on my heart is that best we teach people the truth, not another deception, not another half-truth with deception. And I'm seeing groups like that pop up. And it saddens me because they're going to be misled again, or if they're not, educated or taught about the power and the relationship of God that we each have, that they can have as well. Because remember last week I talked about the greatest contract that the globe has bought into, and that is one of rejection. The one of not being good enough, the one of not making it, the one that you have to work to get acceptance. When we are already accepted, we are already beloved, we are already in God's heart. It's our choice whether we want to live from that perspective or not. I feel we're stepping into a season that a lot more of you will have a lot more dreams. Don't dismiss your dreams. And if possible, when you wake up from that dream, write it down. The greatest trick we kind of get into is, oh yeah, when I wake, I'll go back to sleep, and when I get up, I'll write the dream, because we kind of don't want to get out of bed, or we don't want to, put the light on, and we all do it. And then I go, oh, okay, what was that dream again? You wake up and you go, whoa, what was that? And so, God is always gracious, because he always does remind you. But sometimes we need to get up. It's an invitation to get up and engage with the Spirit and get a download of truth, get a download of wisdom and understanding. And have those encounters with God when he's knocking on your heart to engage with him. For me personally, I'm finding that there are dreams that I've had, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago, that are all becoming very relevant right now. In that it's giving, it's like God saying, look, I showed you that this is what this season would be like. So I'm able to go back and go, that's right, you showed me that this is some of the things that we would go through, but you also showed me what the end of it would look like. So I know what the future holds while we're going through this season. And when you are emotionally, connected with those that are going through some really heavy things at the moment, very sad things, that it's encouraging them to grab hold of this, as don't look at this as punishment, because a lot of us go into that punishment mode. We're going to, oh, God's punishing me, because that's another part of the rejection that we have been programmed with. God is punishing me. He's going to see if I'll stand in my faith. And guys, let me touch this for a minute, because this is a word that's been thrown around. You've got to have more faith. You've got to, once you believe, then God's going to come through for you. It's God believes in you. He has faith in you. It's time we reverse that rhetoric, because so many people go, oh, I guess I need more faith. No, you have already been given everything that you need. So that we can, be successful. We have a future. We have hope. We have all the answers that we need. So we've got to, if you're saying that to yourself, please rectify that, break that contract. It's a negative contract, because when you think about the depth of that statement that you need more faith, or pray more so you get more faith, it is honestly a lot of hierarchy that cannot help you with your problem and don't really want to. It's easier to fob you off and go, well, go and pray more. Oh, well, you need to ask God for more faith. Or they say, well, I'll pray for you. Let me tell you, faith or relationship without actions is not a relationship. In other words, I could say Bradley's my best friend, but I don't ever speak to him. I don't even see how he's going. I don't even check up on him. In fact, I might even just send him, hey, happy birthday, Bradley, when it comes up on Facebook. That is not your spiritual belief in action. In action, if you are if you have friends on this platform that you live down the road from each other, there needs to be interaction. There needs to be a relationship. And relationship takes action. It takes words of affirmation. It takes words of encouragement. It takes words of, how are you? And it's the same with God. Let me ask you, have any of you ever let God ask you how you are? Have you ever asked God how he is? Because we've been taught to have, God is our servant. God is our butler, our provider. So here's my prayer list, God. I need, dear God, I come to you because I need. When you go, God, I do it. I go, God, how you doing? What do you think of everything right now? And I know that he's good, and I know he's got everything in control, but it just brings a deeper depth into that relationship. And this is when, people have got into, we got to be grounded, we got to ground, we got to stand on the earth, we got to feet on the earth, we got to go to the beach, we got to, stand on the sand, and we're grounding. I'm like, what? I don't get it. Do I love being out on the grass? Yes. Do I love walking on the beach? Yes. But I don't sit there in this, spiritual format. I'm grounding. It takes away that intimacy that God so desires with us. Or spending hours in meditation. And meditation is great. Like meditation, when you go, I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to think and connect with God in a deeper, take that time. But remembering, guys, I've taught you, you should be talking to God 24/7. He wants to interact with you 24/7 for every day of your life. And then guess what? We go to eternity and we're still having relationship with him. We're still communicating with him. Our place here on earth is getting us ready for the next realm, for eternity. But eternity is already here. Death is not the door to the supernatural. Death is not the door to eternity. Death is not the door to when you step into heaven. It is all here now. We just happen to be walking around in a physical body. So we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. When we flip that over, everything becomes the right way up. When we do it the other way, everything's upside down. And then that's the contract that we buy into. The reality of this physical world is not my reality. It's not my truth. Now, again, I've taught about being balanced. Balanced in, it's no good being woo-woo and not helping those around us. And there's lots of those that do that. I'm being very spiritual. I live spiritual. And they won't help anybody. That's not God either. God is a God of balance. He cares about your physical needs and he cares about your spiritual being. We should be balanced. Jesus, as the perfect representation, was balanced. So when we look at an example, he is our example. He lived life balanced. So what he saw in the spirit realm, he brought onto the earth. The things that he saw on the earth, the needs he saw on the earth, he then went into the spiritual and met that need. That is what we are called to do. That's what we are designed to do and be. So, there was a slogan quite a few years ago, what would Jesus do? Do you remember those bracelets? WWW, whatever, WWWJ. And I'm looking at people wearing these bracelets and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's nice. But the fruit, their actions never backed up what they were confessing or professing. And this is where, we're constantly in both realms. It's not one or the other. We're in it in duality. We are multi-dimensional beings. And that's why I read out to you. This is the shift that's happening. Your body will feel some things because of the transition that some of us are going through. Some of us are being called higher and deeper and wider. We talk about, expansion. Like I want to be able to walk into a room and affect the whole room for good. And it comes because of carrying the presence of God. God is not in a, God is this big today. I'm just carrying my little Jesus. God is big. If you step outside and look at the world and you look at the skies and the ocean and the vastness of the universe, God is a big God, because scripturally it even says that he's in control of all of it. And yet we put God in this little container, or little baby Jesus. We need to grab hold of the vastness of the Creator that we are connected with. Allowing him. Remember, it's always free will. That is the greatest gift that God gave us. He says, you can choose me or you don't have to choose me. He didn't want robots. He didn't want, little munchkins that, oh, God, 5 minutes, pray God, and then walk away. He created us for relationship. And that's what we crave. We crave even relationships with one another. We want community. We want to gather with like-minded people. We want to be able to talk about the truth. And it doesn't matter if we're all slightly different, think things differently, but our hearts are connected because we are connected to God. Now, there's some wordings out there, guys, that you need to be wary of. They're talking about Christ consciousness. But the Christ consciousness that they're talking about is not what you and I know it to be. That is part of the one world government trying to get us to become one for their agenda. Yes, we are aware of what Jesus did while he was on the earth, but we need to be God conscious. Like, remember, and I'll share it again, even at the age of 7, I never could grasp hold of the Catholic Church doctrine. And I remember saying, and I've shared this, but for those that are new, I turned around to my mum at the age to 7. I said, if I have to go through a priest to speak to God, God's not worth talking to. Pretty bold words for a 7-year-old. Because the truth, it didn't sit as truth for me. Now, did I have a relationship with God as a little girl? Absolutely. I was very God aware, as most children are. In fact, all children are born God aware. They're just programmed out of it. So it was, I'm like, if I want to speak to God direct, I want to speak to the man that makes the decisions and can make changes. And I'm like that even in the natural. If I've got a problem, I want to speak to the person that can make the difference. I don't want to speak to the person that's 10 levels down that can't help me or is telling me the rhetoric that they've been taught. I want to speak to the owner or someone that has the power and authority to address the situation that I am facing. It's the same in the spirit realm. Go to God. There was a bit of it's like, I remember hearing this. It's like, do you go to your phone when you have a problem, or do you go to the throne? Do you go straight to God, or do you get on the phone and you talk to everybody about it? Are there times that we absolutely need someone to talk to? Yes, we are built for community. We are built to, share our problems. And I'm happy to receive emails where you are going through something. And if I can cast wisdom on it or enable you how to deal with it, I'm happy to do so. But we've got to get past this victim perspective that we're running to everybody else to solve our problems, because only you can ultimately solve it with God. If you are facing situations that are caused by someone else or some other people are involved, this is where you go, God, am I at fault here? Did I create this? Did I trigger this? Did I say something? And he's quick to clarify with you the part or the role that you played in it. And this comes back to the very thing that I started with. God is dealing with the old traumas and moving old thinking, because some of that still attracts certain things to come into our life and show their face. I've had something in the last 2 weeks which took me completely by surprise. And I'm like, where the heck is this coming from? This has been dealt with over 40 years ago. Longer. And I'm like, why is this raising its head? And the Spirit revealed to me, the enemy's trying to see if he can shut you down again because of this particular person. That person is being used to try and shut you down again and make you feel small. Trying to take you out. And it really did. It was like someone slapped me across the face. That's what it felt like in the spirit, guys. And I was like, what? And I had to step back and take that time with God to process it. Because my spirit got angry that this was coming back at me when it had been dealt with. And that's okay, It's what you do with that anger determines the outcome. And I had to make sure, nah, that's been dealt with. That is not going to affect me. Because when you understand your core values, and one of mine, which I find most people that are, integral, or most people that really are hungry for, God, is they do not like injustice. And injustice, if I see injustice, it's like a red rag to a bull. But I've learnt not to run in and take it on, because I have brought wisdom to it, because they're not always my place to step in. Right. And I did step in a couple of weeks ago, and I said my piece to a bunch of, committee members, because I felt the way that they were treating the community was inappropriate. So, and it was inappropriate. Could I have handled it a bit better? Yes. But I just like, how dare you speak to people like that? No one has the right to denigrate people. No one. The only person that has that right is God, and God doesn't even do that. He will never degrade you. He will never, go, yeah, you messed up. You're a failure. You didn't do that right. He never, ever does that. If anybody or any entity, you hear those voices, whether they're in the spiritual or in the natural, do not contract with it. Do not go, oh, yeah, I did, didn't I? You've just made an agreement. They then have a legal right to continually harass you with that denigration. Does that make sense? So if you've missed it, and this is what I love, when we embrace that incredible love that God has for us, the grace that he envelopes us with, the patience that he floods our world with, and the mercy that he comes from. When you grab hold of that as his true character, you know when God is speaking and when he is not. If you deem him to be an angry God, a God that's ready to judge you and punish you and whip you, you will always stay contracted to the enemy's plan. You will always be agreeing with his plan for your life and not God's. And this is, the whole reason is that we come together and we talk about the blueprint that God has written on your heart. The purpose and the plan he has for you. He does not come to steal, kill, and destroy. He comes to lift you up, to give you life. If you feel today that you are not living life, in other words, your life does not have, joy and peace, then we seriously need to have a conversation in the sense of what is it that's keeping you bound to a life that is not full of love and joy and peace and prosperity, in spite of the circumstances. Because joy is the greatest weapon that we have. Guys, I don't have much. I seriously don't. I don't own a house. The only thing I own is a car outright. I I live supernaturally, financially, in a lot of ways. And yet I feel like I'm the richest woman on the earth. I really do. Because I'm not caught up in the material things that this world has to offer. And I have had it. I have had it all. And, you know, I've learned that the more you own, the more you have responsibility for. And I truly do. I feel like the richest woman in the world. I have beautiful friends. I have, you know, an amazing family. And I don't need much. And because I don't need much, I don't want much. Now, if God was to turn around and give me a house and a new car and money to boot, I would go, thanks very much. But it would not change who I am, because I've learnt to live with a lot and still stay connected and true with God. And I've learnt to live with little and still stay true and connected with God. Because when we see God as a God of punishment, when we feel like we don't have what this world tells us we should have, we then disconnect from God because we feel like we are failures. Simplicity is the most beautiful aspect of this world. To walk in the bush or go to the beach, go for a swim, watch a sunrise, watch a sunset, sit around a fire with some friends and have a simple meal. They are the most beautiful aspects that we get to have on this world, in the physical world. And then I get to have this incredible relationship with God. I'm never lonely, and I live alone. I'm never sad because I know that He is with me every minute of the day, every day of my life. And I know He will never leave me. He will never let me be destitute. He will always supply whatever needs I have. That is the God that we are truly connected with. Anyone else that preaches any other different type of God is not the one true God. The one true God is your creator. He is your author, and He is the perfecter of your faith, of your love, of your relationship. And all He asks is that you choose Him. And guys, it's something that you grow in. Every situation you face, you go, will I choose God in this situation, or will I choose it to do it my way? Don't get misled with all the noise that's in the world at the moment. Everything that people are peddling, you know, about your finances, about your birth certificate, about your license, about taxes, about, you know, your home. Please do not get caught up. The world is on the cusp of the biggest shift, but you fighting all those things in the natural are not ready to be overlaid yet. The most important thing is to stay connected with God in this season. Use wisdom on the battles that you take. Because I believe many people are taking battles on out of self-righteousness rather than the voice of God. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of freedom, groups campaigning, and they only peddle fear. The reason they only peddle fear is because that's how they get the numbers. Because when people peddle fear based on injustice, it releases something in your body and everyone wants to rise up and go, yeah, let's get them. And then we are all in the flesh, fighting from the flesh. We cannot change this world from the flesh. We cannot change this realm from a 3D perspective. We need to change it from a spiritual perspective. To change your life needs to come from the spiritual perspective. That's the way that you win. That's the way you have victory. That's the way that you go deeper. You become wiser. You become more involved with God. That relationship just becomes so pure and beautiful. Do I still miss it? Absolutely. I can still miss it. But it gets fewer and fewer. Gets less and less the more I just keep God. He's my focus. He's my future. And he's yours as well. I'm going to leave it at that and then to see if there's any questions here today. Did that help anybody this morning? Yes, Bradley, go.
It absolutely helped, Dottie. I might have missed something when you said, "Do you miss it?" Uh, would you clarify what did we miss?
In other words, sometimes we miss what God's asking us to do, or we don't treat somebody as nicely as we should. Do you know? That's when I say, oh, we miss it. Sometimes we miss it. We miss behaving, in a way that is representing God. But that's where I was saying God does never punish you for that. For me, it's his still, small voice will go, Dottie, and I go, oh, yeah, I know. And I'll just go and apologize. Because remember, when you apologize, you make the slate clean. It gives you a clean slate. You start again. And there were a season in my life where I was saying, oh, I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry, God. I missed that. I missed that. Because I was learning. I was learning to hear his prompts in the little things as well as the big things. And there are some things that he asked me to do that I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? And I kept asking him for confirmation. Do you really want me to go and do that? Because we still can have fear. We're still dealing with our emotions. So don't try and dismiss what you're feeling. Acknowledge it and ask God, what do I do with that feeling? Why am I feeling anxious? What anxiety is tied to fear? So why am I feeling afraid? What is there to be afraid of here? Oh, well, you're afraid that you're going to look stupid. Right? Yeah, well, that's a good one. He's going, but you won't look stupid because I've got your back. Okay. Has there been things that God has asked me to do in my life that has come back, so to speak, and been unpleasant? Absolutely. But I have done what God asked me to do. So when stuff comes back at me, it doesn't affect me because I know that I've done what I've been asked to do. And then he becomes my protector. He becomes my vindicator. He becomes my vengeance. Psalm 91 talks about that. He says that. He said, let me be your vengeance when people are trying to slander me. And I've just sat back and going, I'm fine with that. And I've seen the truth come out. Now, do the people that attacked me ever come and say sorry? No, but the truth did come out. I was vindicated. But see, people don't know how to apologize. That's where people don't take ownership. They don't take responsibility for their actions. And that's one of the biggest shifts that we're starting to see on this earth. That's why so much is being exposed. God said to me 20 years ago, he said, all the things that are hidden will be revealed in government, in councils, in churches, in people's lives. Now, did that exclude me? No. That meant if there was anything hidden in my life, it was exposed as well. And I'm okay with that because I don't want it. I don't want anything that hinders or comes between my relationship with God in the spirit and on earth. That's why my life is I either trigger you or I inspire you. And there are times when people get triggered, there is repercussions. And I would go, but I didn't do anything wrong. Like I had to toughen up. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being rejected. And God's going, no, they're reacting to you because you carry truth. You carry the presence and the power of the one true God. Not in a conceited or prideful way. Honestly, I am so humbled that God has chosen me to be his daughter. It often brings tears to my eyes that he embraces me and loves me and he's there for me. That's why I feel like every time I share with you guys, I keep coming back to that foundation and I go, God, am I starting to, sound like a parrot? Like, is this enough for this people? Because I feel for all of you. I want to inspire you. I want to encourage you. I want to release the presence and the power of God in your life to bring a shift that changes your world dramatically. Because that's God's heart for you. If you are feeling downtrodden, if you are feeling broken, if you are feeling, like you're alone, this is the minute that you can shift that. Embrace God with your whole heart, warts and all. Wherever you've missed the mark, it doesn't matter. Let him embrace you. Come to him. And I call this, returning to innocence. In other words, I exchange all of me for all of you, God. So you get all my rubbish and I get all your goodness. That's a good deal, guys. We've got to break out of the spell that we're under, that we're always trying to get God to accept us, to love us, to forgive us. You are already forgiven. The world is already forgiven and it doesn't know it. That's the only difference, guys. That's why we're in an upside down world. We are forgiven, even before we know what we've done wrong. Now, that doesn't give us license to go out there and do a whole lot of bad stuff. Doesn't work like that. I've heard that taught. Doesn't work like that. What I'm saying is when we come with an open and sincere heart, God meets us with us. If you have an ulterior motive, guess what? God already knows. And how often, and I'll give you a really good example, how often do the mafia pay off the Catholic Church and priest to pray for them, and they step out of the church and they murder someone? It doesn't wash. The Catholic Church just shook their heads and said, thank you very much for the money. It doesn't wash. So again, we come back with our hearts open to learn, have our minds open. Some of us need our minds changed, the way we think, because we've been programmed to think a certain way, and I'm right, because that's what I've been told. That's what I've learned all these years. You have to have an open mind to the shifts that are coming in this season. Sometimes we get caught up in how we think God's going to move. It's like, God, this is how I expect God to move, and that's how he's going to move. And he's sitting there going, no, I'm not doing it that way this time. I want to do it this way. And God will move. I'm going to share a quick little testimony this week of a girlfriend of mine. She's one of my best friends, and her husband was off on a trip, and he stopped at a petrol station and he bought a pie, which he never eats, so I don't know why he bought a pie, took 2 bites of it and threw it in the bin. He traveled to his, destination, and then realized that he had thrown his wallet away with the pie into the bin. All his cards, it had money, cash in it, that they couldn't afford to lose, right? They were strapped financially. And anyway, he's, rung up my girlfriend, and where everyone gets into prayer, and, we're calling this wallet back, or they're calling this wallet back. I didn't know until after the event. And then he gets a phone call from the police 2 days later. I won't say his name, we have your wallet. And he's like, what? How did you get his wallet? It ended up in a lady's purse. Now, guys, it went into a public bin with a mushy, gooey pie and ended up in a lady's purse. Come on. This is the Spirit of God moving. This is the power that we have to shift things. And the money was still in it. Everything was intact, and he got his wallet back. Now, that situation encouraged this gentleman to have a big wake-up call about some things that he's been allowing to come and operate in his life. He's had the mind shift by the awareness, and God came through for him. There's no physical or logical possibility that the wallet that was in the bin ended up in this lady's purse. I feel we got to stop underestimating God's ability and power to move on our behalf. This is why the importance of your relationship, the depth of your relationship with God is the key element. Absolutely key element, guys. If you're going to press in for anything, if you're going to go after anything, go for that relationship with God. And if you're not feeling him, if you're not hearing him, simply ask, God, I want to hear you. God, I want to feel you. God, I want to see you. All the things that religion has told us we can't do. Oh, you can't have a face-to-face encounter with God. Well, guess what? I did. People outside of the churches are having encounters with God face-to-face. And yet churches teach you that you can't. They teach you that you can't speak to angels, yet let's all speak to demons, shall we? Come on, guys. Grab hold of the connection you already have with God and let it grow, let it flourish, let it overtake you. It's a river of life that's flowing. I had an encounter just really quickly because I've got to go, I'm sorry. But I had an encounter with God in the spirit. And he said, Dot, you're in the river, but you keep hanging on to the side of the shore. And I'm like, oh, okay. He says, I want you to let go. I went, okay. And I let go. And I've been floating down that river ever since. I go with the current of the spirit wherever God takes me. I stay fluid. I stay flexible. I stay floating in the river of life that God has for me. And I trust him because letting go of the bank was a step of trust. In other words, I was letting go of the things of this earth to flow in the spirit. Don't underestimate your dreams. Don't underestimate the little thoughts that go through your head. God is speaking. Just take time to have a little listen. Or ask him, was that you, God? And even if you have to ask him 10 times, he's okay with that. He's not going, oh, my God's sake, he didn't get it the first 3 times. Now I've got to say it another 7. That is not God. If you're a parent, if your child is learning, do we go after the 3rd time, what, you can't say mum yet? Well, that's it. I'm not going to teach you anymore. We continue throughout our children's entire life to teach them. We teach them basic words, but then we learn to have we teach them conversations, we teach them how to respond, we teach them how to react, we teach them how to engage, we teach them how to play sports, we teach them how to live life, we teach them how to love, we teach them how to have relationships. God is the same. It's just he does a better job. All right, guys, I love you lots. I truly do. And I do put a lot of time into this time we have together. I'm always asking God, what does he want me to bring? I want the arrow to hit the target. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the honor and the pleasure. You know, I find it such a privilege to share my heart, my faith, my belief, my relationship, my encounters, and love you all lots. See you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Dottie.
Thank you.
Thanks, people. Love you loads.
Love you too.
Thank you, Dottie. Thank you all.
Bye.
Have a good week, Dottie. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Dottie.
Thank you.